What is going on? Have you ever eaten honey off your fingers? Then you might want to play Slaanesh Demons. Tonight, we're going to talk about Slaanesh Psychic Powers. If you've been following along with the HQ videos so far, you'll know that not only do you have a decent variety of psychic HQs, but you also have a few HQ characters that can cast 2 spells a turn, which is pretty powerful. So let's dive in here to the Slaanesh Psychic Powers and see which ones we like and which ones we don't. Now, first up, Smite. I definitely think you're going to want to try and cast Smite every single turn. You're going to want that range damage output for sure. So always try to get a Smite off. Hopefully you can get it off on a 10 plus for the d6 damage, which means the Epitome with its +1 might be the right choice for your smiting. The first spell is Cacophonic Choir. Warp charge value of 6, so pretty easy to cast. If manifested, roll 2d6, adding 2 to the result if the psychic test was a 10 or more. The closest enemy unit within 18 of the psyker and visible to it suffers a mortal wound for each point that the total exceeds their highest leadership characteristic. There are a few ways to debuff leadership in this army. GW really thinks like debuffing leadership or things attacking leadership like this are valuable. I'm going to say not really. If you roll really good, yes, it could be powerful, but you're rolling a 6 to cast it, and then also you still have another chance to fail by just rolling bad on the leadership. Now you could use your command point reroll to try and get that +2 or to try and really get a high roll here against their leadership. But just seems, I don't like the idea of trying to cast a spell, chance of failing, chance of perils. My opponent has a chance to deny, and then I still have to roll for against their leadership, which is generally pretty high in 40K. Like, it's not, everything's not a 10, but if their leadership's 7, which is kind of a low leadership, on average, you do nothing. So, I don't know. I think I skipped this one 99% of the time. If it hit, and it hits the closest unit that is within 18, just like a Smite. So, if you're trying to make some kind of ranged attack character with this and Smite every turn on like the Epitome, try it out, but I don't think it's going to be very good. Second one, Symphony of Pain. Warp charge value of 6. Manifested, the nearest enemy unit within 18 of the psyker is struck by unbearable pain. Your opponent must subtract 1 from all hit rolls made for this unit until the start of your next psychic phase. This one's awesome. Hopefully you can use your movement to get into position to make sure the closest enemy unit that is visible and within 18 that you hit with this -1 to hit is very valuable. Now, this is going to be great because if you charge that unit this turn, they're -1 to hit you back if they have survivors. If they fall back and can shoot you, they're -1 to shoot you. If they stay in combat to fight you, they're -1 to fight you. So, or if you can pull it off on a big model, like say you could somehow land in to make like a Shooty Knight or a Baneblade or some large gunboat. The closest model, giving it -1 to hit's really powerful, and it's only a 6 to cast, so definitely like this one a lot. I think you're going to want to try to squeeze this one in your army. Next one is Hysterical Frenzy. Warp charge value of 8, pretty hard to cast. Select a friendly Slaanesh Demon unit within 18 of the psyker and within 1 of an enemy. That unit can fight as if it was the fight phase. This means that unit was either charged and survived by your opponent, or you charged in your turn, and then they couldn't fall back in their turn, and now it's your turn again. There are some ways to prevent people from falling back, so I do think this one could come up. Also, if you can get a good charge roll, you could probably wrap some units and trap them like a tank. You can try to wrap it so it can't retreat from you. And especially like the Seekers of Slaanesh on those long bases, You would only need a few of them to basically put some right angles on the corners of a tank, and it's not going to be able to fall back out of combat. And that's going to possibly save you. It's going to save you a lot against their shooting phase, and then you might want to go ahead and attack again. This has some strong plays. One, if you can kill the unit in the psychic phase and then charge a new unit in your charge phase and fight again later in the turn, pretty cool. Unfortunately, this one's a casting value of 8, which is pretty difficult. You do have a +1 on the epitome, which is pretty cool. The downside, though, is it's a little situational. Now, I am planning on trying to tie things up in combat, prevent things from falling back, and charging first turn. So I do think this one's going to be worth taking. I don't think you base your whole strategy on it, but you keep it, keep it close at hand just in case. Because when it comes up, the volume of attacks your units could be putting out and them doing it twice in a turn is pretty powerful. Especially if somehow you're in combat. If you were like in combat with 4 termagants immune to morale that couldn't retreat or something, and now it's your turn, being able to just kill them in the psychic phase and then charge like their exocrines or whatever, their hive guard behind them, pretty powerful. So definitely think about this one. Weigh it pretty heavily in my mind. Number 4 is Delightful Agonies. Delightful Agonies has a warp charge value of 5. We like that. Easy to cast. If manifested, select a single friendly Slaanesh Demon unit with an 18 in the Psyker. Until the start of your Psychic phase, roll a d6 each time a model in that unit loses a wound. On a 6, the model does not lose a wound. I think you're going to want to try to cast this on something every turn. Any amount of survivability you can dig out, totally worth it. If you put this on a unit of 20 Seekers, that's 40 wounds with now a 6-up, feel no pain. So, worth casting. I wish it was a 5-up or something, because this is a Slaanesh Psychic Power, so it wouldn't be some kind of crazy stacking ability with like a Nurgle unit or anything. They could have really made this one like a 5-up or something a little more valuable. But, oh well, I think it's worth taking if you have the slots on your Psykers. And like I've been saying this whole time, survivability, especially in the shooting phase, is going to be your key to success, or going first. Number 5, Pavane of Slaanesh. Warp charge value of 6. Manifested, select an enemy unit with an 18 and visible. Roll a d6 for each model in the unit. The unit suffers a mortal wound on a roll of a 6. I like this one. It is pretty situational. This is assuming your opponent at least has 10 man units, preferably like 20 or 30 man units, of course. Way better against them. But you're basically just rolling a bunch of dice and fishing for 6s to do mortal wounds. One thing that is nice about it is you do get to select the unit with an 18. It's not the closest. And it does have to be visible, though. But if somebody had a big unit, capping an objective or something, you might get a few wounds out of it. I think I don't know, I like rolling for luck sometimes, meaning that I'll take the chance and try something like this, because if you roll good, it's good. Which, I don't know how you're going to weigh this one. I think this one is possible you skip it, but it is another opportunity to do some range damage, so maybe you try it out. And the last one is Phantasmagoria. Warp charge value of 6. Enemy units must subtract 1 from their leadership characteristic until the start of your next psychic phase while they're within 12 of the Psyker. Kind of cool, but they value this -1 leadership heavily, and I just don't know if that's really something to base your army on. Although, if that was on like a Keeper of Secrets who's moving like 14, or maybe he's moving 17 if you give him the +3 movement Warlord trait, and now you have a spell that's a 12-inch -1 leadership aura, you can get some play there. But -1 leadership means maybe one more model runs away, assuming they can even fail their battle shock test or morale test at the end of the phase. So it does kill a whole model, though. So I think it's worth considering. You're going to have to try it out. If you're playing against your friends, you can just basically look at their army and decide if you think that'll ever come up. But if you're taking it to a tournament, then you don't know who you're playing against. And I don't know. It doesn't seem super strong. Some of these are okay, though. I like the -1 to hit. I like the fight again if it comes up. This one, you can try and build your strategy around this leadership debuff thing. And if you do, then you go with the cacophonic choir and, you know, try to debuff some leadership and then hit them with a big choir-y smite type attack. So those are your Slaanesh Psychic Powers. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you're looking for any hobby supplies, we got links below to both Amazon and eBay. I sell painted miniatures on my eBay store if you want to check those out. I also have a Patreon if you want to check that out and support the channel. I would really, really appreciate it. Money will be going mostly to just prize support for Patreons. So whenever we get that up and going, we'll be celebrating that. And hopefully you just like the video or comment below, because I always like talking about Warhammer and stuff, especially when I'm taking a little break from painting in the evening. So talk to you soon. Adios.